Well, let's get the views now of the Labour MP Giesla Stuart, who of course was a doyen of the Vote Leave campaign, now a senior figure in the Change Britain campaign. Do you think we should be here at all? Should this be happening?
But we are, Adam. It's as simple as that. And I think on the one hand, it's very straightforward. The court looking at the powers of the executive to give effect to the decision on the 23rd of June. And I think the real political problem is going to be, or the political challenge is going to be, that I hope the court will deliver its judgment in such a way which will allow Theresa May to fulfil her promise to invoke Article 50 by the end of March, which is quite important.
I mean, you're an MP, so presumably you would like the chance to have a say on this whole process.
If the court says that that's how it needs to be done, then of course I will. But I think we need to separate the triggering Article 50, which gives effect to the referendum result, and then the much more detailed negotiations which are going to go on as to which bits we enshrine in UK law, what we keep, what those whole terms of the settlement are. And we're in danger of confusing the two today.
Anna Soubry is making the point that she thinks the government has made a mistake, that there was an acceptance by MPs of the result of the referendum, and had Mrs May put this to the vote back in September or even late July, then it would have been a dull issue, instead of which, by allowing it to drag on, she's polarised the country.
But you also got a situation whichever which way but lose, because my argument was, as you say, I suggested to the government it was much better in coming in as a new Prime Minister to implement the settlement, have the vote in Parliament. Actually, I would have gone further, would have also put through a very simple repeal of the 1972 European Communities Act. So the government had a choice to either use the treaty provisions or the repeal. However, there were a significant number of MPs, and probably Anna Soubry was one of them, who were sounding by far less conciliatory in September, who hadn't come to terms with the referendum result yet. So it was always a challenge.
She's always been on the record that she would have voted as the referendum decided.
No, people always kept saying, I accept the result, but. And I think the position of the but has changed. And I do hope that all these MPs who currently say, I accept the result, also accept that that means you trigger Article 50 without amendments, you do it as it is, and you leave the rest of negotiations until afterwards.
Now, you know what you campaigned on in Vote Leave. Do you know what Brexit means as far as the government's concerned? Do you know whether they're going for a hard Brexit, soft Brexit, halfway Brexit?
Well, it's more kind of, are we going to have a clean Brexit? And I think both Leave and Remain were clear that if we vote to leave, we will leave the single market. And to me, that meant there's no automaticity between paying into a budget, supremacy of the law, control over your borders, your taxes, and your trade policy.
So in your view, single market, yes or no?
No. Then if you remain a member of the single market, you have not left the European Union.
So in that case, there would be controls on immigration. Yeah, I've just been talking to Diane Abbott, and she says that she doesn't think there should be controls on immigration.
You have to have a say over who enters your country, and that will be a mechanism where you control numbers.
But what's the Labour Party position on this, do you know?
All I can say is that my position is, and that's the position of the people who voted to leave, and probably a significant number of Remainers as well.
No, I understand that, but
the government policy must have a say as to who comes into the country.
But you are still a Labour MP. Do you understand what Labour's position is?
This Labour MP's position is their control on the borders.
Right, do you understand what what are the whips telling you, what the position is?
I think at the moment there's what Tony Blair would have called in creative ambiguity.
Okay, Giesla Stuart, thank you very much indeed for joining us.